Today we are going to learn about the differences between weather and climate and about global climate change. The main topics we will cover include: what is the meaning of climate and climate change? What are the causes of global warming? What are the consequences of global warming? We will also review how global climate change can affect travel and tourism.
Weather refers to the temperature, precipitation, wind, humidity, and so on in a region over a short period of time. Weather can change dramatically from day to day or even hour to hour. Climate refers to how these factors behave over a long period of time. For example, there might be a few warm days in Boston in February, but the average February temperature is right around freezing. On the other hand, the average winter temperature in Los Angeles is frequently over 60 degrees, but there have been times when the weather has gotten cold enough for snow in downtown LA.
A region's climate is based on several factors that include the amount of sunlight it receives, the height above sea level, the shape of the land, and the distance from the equator. Global climate depends on the amount of energy received by the sun and the amount of energy that is trapped in the system. These amounts are different for different planets. Scientists who study Earth's climate and climate change study the factors that affect the climate of our whole planet. It's important to study our planet's overall global climate because it allows us to predict what could happen in the future.
The world is divided into 5 climate zones. They include the tropical zone, the dry zone, the temperate zone, the continental zone, and the polar zone.
The tropical zone has consistently high temperatures throughout the year with large amounts of rain. The temperatures can start at 64 degrees Fahrenheit and be increased throughout the year. Some examples of a tropical zone include Hawaii, Costa Rica, and Indonesia.
The dry zone has little rain throughout the year with a high daily temperature that can be described as desert-like. The temperature can range from being very hot throughout the day to very cold at night. Some examples include Egypt, Arizona, and Mongolia.
The temperate zone has temperatures that can go from mild to hot. In the United States, these regions have wet winters and very dry summers. Some areas in the world that have a temperate zone include Seattle, Washington, France, and the United Kingdom.
The continental zone varies in temperature throughout the year, but has the potential to have an extremely cold climate during the winter season. Examples include Chicago, Sweden, and Japan.
The polar zone has a high temperature that never goes above 50 degrees Fahrenheit during the year. Alaska is a great example of a polar zone.
Today, the different climates of our planet are changing rapidly. According to scientists, our planet is warming more quickly than it has in the past. Global warming is causing Earth's average global temperatures to increase. We study climate change because it affects the ecosystems of the world as well as every living thing. People who can afford it can turn on the air conditioner or the heater to stay comfortable inside, but technology can't save our crops or water supplies. In fact, the air conditioner takes energy to run and creates pollution, furthermore contributing to more climate change. Different climate zones will feel different effects from global warming, but all zones will feel the impact.
The tropical zone may experience an increase in diseases, but an extinction of its animal and plant life.
Dry zones may see animal and plant extinction, extreme weather events including flooding and forest fires, and rising sea levels.
Temperate zones may see extreme weather events including flooding and forest fires, rising sea levels, water shortages, loss of wildlife, and changes in agriculture.
Continental zones can be impacted by a change in their seasonal patterns, as well as a change in the ecosystem.
Polar zones may see melting glaciers, rising sea levels, Arctic shrinkage, and loss of wildlife.
A change of just 1 degree in Earth's temperature can have serious consequences. Global warming sets off a chain of serious events that affect everyone. With warmer weather, there would be many more disease outbreaks, including malaria and yellow fever. Increased flooding and damage to water and sewage infrastructure would also spread diseases. With less snow, water would become scarce, causing droughts and water shortages. With shrinking forests, food, and water resources, animals would need to adjust at a rapid pace or die. Many species of animals would become extinct as well. For example, currently only about 3,000 to 4,500 Bengal tigers remain in the wild today. These beautiful rare tigers might die out completely with the climate changes. There are other potential consequences of global warming, which include increased air pollution, disappearing islands, and coastal erosion. Some consequences of global warming can be seen across many different climate zones. Even if a consequence only affects one zone, it still matters.
There are many well-known tourist destinations that will change drastically if current environmental trends continue. For example, the legendary Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa will be ice-free within 20 years because there are a variety of factors influencing the gradual disappearance of Mount Kilimanjaro's ice. Global warming definitely plays a big part. Another great example is the Glacier National Park located in Montana that is expected to lose its glaciers by 2030. In 2010, the total number of glaciers was about 35. If global warming continues at the current rate, scientists predict there won't be a single glacier left in the park by the year 2030.
Along with the polar regions, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia will decline from rising sea temperatures. Sea life that depends on the coral reefs will disappear. Islands in the South Pacific will be evacuated within 100 years. Rising ocean water already destroys island roads and crops. Beyond the destruction of natural resources, global warming impacts tourist activities in general. Weather and climate are major factors when tourists decide where to go. Unpredictable weather patterns, declining wildlife and plants, hotter weather, and greater risk of diseases and infections while traveling will impact tourism in the decades ahead. Fewer tourists mean that the tourist industry faces shorter profit-making seasons. To make up for this economic loss, they may raise prices. These issues affect all of the residents in tourist communities, where the quality of life may suffer.
In conclusion, global warming has a huge impact on all of the 5 different climate zones and can affect tourism in certain areas.